What's cooking, Timberwolves? All right, so for this demo, we're gonna do an easy dump brownie. Now, I am gonna be doing it in a muffin pan, and for all of you guys who are like, seriously, enough of the muffins, you guys can make this in a square pan as well. You're just gonna adjust the heating time. So I would probably end up baking it for probably about 20 to 25 minutes. You're gonna have to gauge that. But mini brownies, who doesn't like a brownie? Okay, some of you guys might have already done this recipe with my rotations. For those of you guys who did, you know these are awesome brownies. For those of you guys who didn't, come on, make them. They're really, really great. I will be doubling the recipe myself because I love them. And yeah, here's the recipe. All right, so very first thing, of course, I'm gonna do is wash my hands. Seconds. Got my hands free, I've got my hair tied up, and I've got my apron on, and I'm ready to rock and roll. I've got my equipment out, and I'll go over what I need for this one. But in the meantime, I am going to preheat my oven, so I'm going to be at 350 Quebec. Or 375 bake, okay? So I do have my muffin tins. I've got them fully lined. If you do not have muffin tin liners, of course you can spray them down with some cooking spray. Again, this is a dump recipe, so I just want to make sure I've got my bowl. As far as the small bowl goes, you really only need it to melt your butter. So I've got my Pyrex small bowl. It is microwavable safe. So just make sure you've got that because we will be fully melting our butter or margarine. And then, like I said, I'm doubling the recipe, so I've got my eggs and I've got my measuring cups and I've got my measuring spoons. I will, of course, be using my trusty metal spatula. And again, if you don't have one of these, use the back of a butter knife, my rubber spatula, which I love. And then to scoop out, I've got my utility spoon. Okay, so let's get this one going. Now, it does at the bottom or somewhere on the recipe that you guys do or can put in mix-ins. I'm going to be putting in chocolate chunks because I love chocolate. I'm such a huge fan of chocolate. But you could put in whatever you want. Marshmallows. I think on the recipe I put candy cane pieces. You can put in nuts. You can put in caramel swirls. You can put in chunks of Oreo. You can put in really, like, it's endless. So I look forward to seeing what you guys can come up with because some of you guys have been coming up with some really interesting stuff for waffles and everything, and I love seeing it. Okay, so let's get to mixing. So I'm going to get all of my dry ingredients and I'm going to start putting it into my bowl. So I am going to start off with my sugar and my cocoa powder, and then I've got my flour as well. Forgot my sugar, so let's grab that. Okay, now I'm going to be using gluten-free flour for this one, so it will not rise as high as your guys will, but it still will taste awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start off with my sugar. So it says 100 milliliters, so I'm going to end up doing 200. So I'm going to take my 50 and I'm actually going to measure it out with this. So I'm going to do it 4 times. So I'm going to heap, level off, 50. 150. 200. If you wanted to make these low fat, good luck. I don't know. Brownies are one of those things that you can kind of mess with as far as like applesauce. So instead of applesauce, you can use oil if you wanted vegetable oil or canola oil. You could actually also probably use olive oil as well. So that I've done, but when it comes to the sugar, I say just stick with it, okay? Everything in moderation. So I've got my 200 of sugar. I am then going to add my cocoa powder. So again, I'm going to take my 50 and I'm going to do 2 of these because again, I'm doubling my recipe. gonna do 250. So for me, I'm gonna take my 125 because it's easier to fit into my gluten-free flour bin. And I'm gonna do 2. I am then gonna take my baking powder, and it says 4 milliliters. So I'm gonna take my 2, and I'll do 4 of these. And then my salt, and I'm gonna do 2 milliliters of salt. So this is one of those recipes that comes together really fast and it's pretty easy. So I'm just gonna give my dry ingredients a good stir. If I've got any lumps in my cocoa powder, I'm gonna make sure that I kind of stamp those out because I don't really want those to be lumpy. And if you wanted to, you could whisk at this point. Those of you guys who love your whisks, but I'm just gonna stick with my rubber spatula. All right, so I'm gonna melt my butter. And again, it calls for 60. I've already pre-measured my 120 or half a cup. And you guys can use butter or margarine, it's totally up to you. Mine is lactose free, so I'm gonna do the dairy free option. And I'm going to melt it all the way, and that's really, really important. I don't want any chunks of margarine or butter. And I'm only gonna heat it up to 20 seconds or 25 seconds, depending on your microwave, okay? If you do it more than that, what will end up happening is your butter or your margarine will explode in your microwave, and then you'll have a really big mess, and we don't wanna do that, okay? So I'm gonna do 25 seconds, see where it goes, and then I'll keep on adding with that. My butter was at room temperature pretty much, so I should be okay to only do it 1 or 2 times. If you're taking it straight out of the fridge, you are gonna need to do it a little bit longer. Okay, so I still have a couple chunks in here, so I am gonna put it for a little bit longer. I'm gonna put it for, I think, I'll put it for 15 seconds. And I will be adding it straight into that bowl. I do not need to pre-mix all of my wet ingredients. Again, dump recipes are awesome because you literally just dump it all into your bowl, and it doesn't really matter as far as the order of your wet ingredients. I would still recommend that you get all your dry in and then put all your wet in, just because it makes it a bit better. All right, so I am going to add in my melted butter. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix it with my dry ingredients first, just a little bit, just to cool it down, because I do not wanna put it in and then put my eggs in. I don't wanna cook my eggs, okay? Because then you'll have curdled eggs, which is never a good thing. I am then going to add in my oil or my applesauce. So it does say 112 milliliters of applesauce. That's because that's how big one of my pre-measured cups is like this. But if you guys have applesauce that's in like an actual tub, you can do 125. It's way easier to measure. It's just half a cup. But I am going to add in 2 of these, and I'm just gonna scrape it because I want all of this liquid in here. And you are not going to taste the applesauce, okay? For those of you guys who are like, why are you adding it? Applesauce works as an awesome substitute for oil in recipes. It makes it light and fluffy, and I often use applesauce in my muffins because it's great. Like, you don't really taste it. When you are putting it in though, you do want to make sure that it is unsweetened applesauce, okay? I don't need the extra sugar. I've already got the extra sugar in there with my sugar. All right, so I've got all of this. I'm now gonna add in my eggs and my vanilla. So again, it's usually 1 egg, but I'm going to double it up. And if you are not comfortable with cracking straight into the bowl, make sure that you've got another bowl that you can crack into first. And again, it's just going on the side, making sure that you've got a good cut there, and then pressing in and pulling away. Oh, that's fun. Let's try that again. Ooh, that one did not want to break. All right, now I see a little piece of it, shell. Get it together. All right, so I've got egg on my hands. Of course, I'm going to wash my hands because we have meat safety. Dry it off with a clean towel, and I'm ready to roll again. I've got my egg in there. The last thing I'm going to measure out is my vanilla, and I'm definitely going to make sure that I do not measure my vanilla over top of my bowl. That's why I have my other bowl with my eggs in it, and I'm going to measure it over top of that. So 2 milliliters, so I'm going to double it to 4. And if you don't have vanilla at home, you don't have to put it in. That's totally fine. You can last without it. If you have cinnamon, you can put that in. If you wanted to make this like more of a Mexican brownie, you can put it in a little bit of cayenne. It tastes really good. And I've got my chunks of chocolate that I will be adding in as well. All right, I'm gonna take my rubber spatula, make sure that my eggs are broken. And mix. So you want to do this just until moistened. So basically my goal is just to make sure that all of my dry ingredients are really well mixed in there, but not over mixed. So I don't want any clumps of, say, like baking powder or flour or cocoa powder, and I'm good to go. So again, it's like a muffin recipe, so it's going to be chunky, okay? We're not going for a smooth batter in this, all right? And because I've got doubled the recipe, I can easily put this in an 8x8. Just make sure that I spray it down or put parchment down on it first and bake it, and it would turn into an awesome, just regular size brownie. But I like these as mini brownies, like that look like muffins, because then it's easier for me to kind of take them out, and I freeze them and then take them out later on for a snack, dessert. So I'm gonna take my spoon and I'm just gonna spoon this out. I'm gonna watch to make sure I don't get any of this batter on the sides, because cleanup will really suck if I do that. Now I have a smaller muffin tin. This is a cupcake muffin tin. So I might end up making more than the 12, but you guys, if you guys have regular size muffin tins, you guys should be okay. Smells so good. And I can already see my baking powder working. All right, so I'm gonna have to probably make, I would say like 3 more. So I'm gonna grab another. exactly 3 more. So the more you scrape out of your bowl, the easier it is going to be for cleanup. And that's always a good thing. So if I wanted to, I could then take an extra chip, just place it on top. These are now ready to go into the oven. I'm gonna set my timer for 18 minutes. And again, I have to watch, right? If they're not fully baked by the time they're done, then let's see if I can fit. Then I definitely want to make sure that they are. So setups, and we'll see. So what I'm looking for is I want them to rise. I want them to be firm to the touch. And again, I'm not going to touch the chocolate chunk because that will burn my finger. If I have a toothpick, I can use one to see if I can get it clean out. But again, if I put chocolate chips in there, watch because they might be melted. And you won't really see golden brown, okay? Because they're already brown. So use the firm to the touch more so than the golden brown. All right.